Great, let's begin. Enough. Here we go. Maybe you guys have seen this picture in your book, if unfortunately or fortunately you have opened them. If you look at it, every organization in the world, 99.999%, I think, even 100% it should be like this, but some people do not follow. So this is actually the typical style of every organization. They can have the same thing. They have their strategies going forward, and strategies means organizations. Strategies are put forward to portfolios, and portfolios give the strategy to the programs and projects, and they give their deliverable back to them. Then they will be integrated to the operations. The purpose of this picture to show you guys that some of you, I have felt that you guys are just only thinking that we have a project something from the year, it doesn't belong to organizations, you will execute it. No, it is an organization, and that's what we call it, organizational project management. Organizational project management, OPM, which guide us, which portfolio, which programs, which projects we need to do in order to align the organization strategies and objectives to the operations, so we can achieve those results. And as per the situation, I will use as much as of the whiteboard. If you guys could have your writing something, so it will be easier for you. So you can also write with me, or if you don't want to write, it's recorded. You can have it once we will finish the sessions. So you will have the recording for this session also. I will, instead of writing or typing, I will use my handwriting. Maybe it could be very bad, but it will be easier for me to focus also. So we said we have every organization to start with. What every organization contains, they have strategies and they have objectives. And they are actually based on major thing, which is what every organization has a vision and every organization has a mission. When they have vision and missions, so they translate their visions into missions. And in some classes, I give you the framework. Missions will be translated into objectives. And then objectives should be the SMART, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. Then vision objectives. You have to find the strategies how to achieve those objectives. And then you have to take actions accordingly. And we said this is our Musa framework: visions, missions, objectives, strategies, and action plans. So every organization has a vision, and majority of the organization, not all of them, sometimes CEO or the heads of the organization are doing the same thing. They have a person or a department called business analysis or business analyst. It could be a person, or it could be a responsibility towards someone, any functional manager. I'm not saying a specific person. What business analysts do, the picture you have seen, that organization to portfolio to program to operations. From operations, they will get the data to the strategy. From strategy, it will be forward to the portfolio, and it will be forwarded to the program and projects. Then operation. So operations, which means from the market. From the market, we get the feedback. So based on the feedback, we start the portfolio or program or project. One organization, sorry, I'm going a bit out of topic, just to explain you the PFMP also. Every organization can have at least one portfolio, or they can have multiple portfolios related to different objectives. These portfolios will select if it can be done as a single project, or if these projects can be done in a program to have maximum benefits of the project, which cannot be achieved if they are done individually. So program and project managers will execute their deliverables and then provide the input to the operations. Then operations will provide the feedback, and this circle will continue. Now business analysts work on this part and on this part by doing a gap analysis. Gap analysis means how much is the difference what you are trying to achieve and where you are standing. So that's what we call to move from one place to another place. What we do, we execute a project. This could be the part of the portfolios directly, or it could be under a program, or it could be a separate project. So when gap analysis is done, so business analyst actually submits a report called feasibility study. Feasibility study contains technical feasibility, that how technically it is good, how operational feasibility is good, and also the financials. Because every organization works with the benefits, and benefits could be tangible or intangible. Tangible means your monetary assets will increase. Intangible means it could be your value, it could be your recognitions. So he will do the feasibility study where he will provide multiple options, that okay, we can do a project for this thing, we can do a project for this thing, we can do a project for this thing, or we can do a project for this thing. Multiple options could be there. And once he will provide the feasibility study, he will propose one option that according to my experience and based on the feedback which we have collected, I think that this project is better enough. So for this option only, he will perform cost benefit analysis or benefit to cost ratio analysis, that if we will invest how much and what value we will get. I am not saying anything about predictive or agile. It happens in both like this. So when business analyst will do the gap analysis, and then he will submit the report in the form of feasibility studies. So then they will find out, who will find out? There will be a board. Board means it could be a governing board, it could be a steering committee, it could be the sponsors committee, where we will have the organization owner, sponsor, records, and our functional managers, because they are our stakeholders. So functional managers will be looking at it. The options we have provided 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you are saying 4. So based upon this information, that 4 of you, someone is sending a message. Feasibility same is same like case study. Yeah, kind of case study thing. But feasibility study contains multiple things, the constraints, the options, and so on. So it is like this. He will submit the feasibility study, and then it will be discussed between the organizational internal stakeholders first. This could be a brainstorming session. This could be of like we can call it. It could be a facilitation sessions, which can contain brainstorming, focus group, or it could be we can do one-to-one interviews or questionnaire or surveys, or we can show them a prototype also. When this meeting will conclude, or when it is going to be concluded, we might have a conflict. And it is very possible that once you have the conflict, you will feel the heat. So if you look at the task 1 of our PMP exam content outline, PMP ECO, it says that manage the conflicts, resolve the conflicts. So how to resolve the conflicts? We have discussed in resource management chapter that there are 5 stages or 5 levels of conflict. The first one is simple type of conflict, like the personal opinions. The second one is difference, which means everyone have a difference of opinion. Third one is contest, the grouping will start. Then we have what? Crusade, which means this is our side and this is your side. And the last one is world war, which means that now there couldn't be any strategy applied and we have to go with that thing. So once these guys are setting, so we have to check that what is the level of conflict. So once we have the level of conflict, so we have to see that it is stage 1, which is like simple difference of opinion. Difference of opinion. Number 2, it could be disagreement, that it is more than that. It could be our contest. Now you will try to prove everyone wrong, even if they are right. 4, it will be the crusade, which means now you will have the groups. And now 5, nothing can be resolved. It's like 100% a war situation. We call it world war situations. So if the conflict is here or here or here, so we have conflict management techniques. What are they? We said we have avoid or withdraw. We don't want to deal with it. So this is also lose-lose technique where there is no benefit. We could have smooth or accommodate or buy some time. smooth or accommodate, or buy sometime again lose, or it could be force where one will win and one will lose, or it could be the compromise where both sides will go back, so both are losing, and the best one is collaborate. So once these things are done, so this is what win-win situation. This is the best. If it can be done, then the last thing is what arbitration, bringing a third party to get the conflict resolved. So project management says, guys, before you start anything, resolve the conflict because everyone have conflicts. Conflicts are the healthy thing, and they should be dealt accordingly. So you have to find out level of conflict at this level also between your internal stakeholders, like managers actually do not agree with each other. There's a biggest problem with the managers. Then they management, and then functional managers, operational management, functional management, and they all have their own scenarios. So you can use the conflict management techniques to resolve that thing. And once you are doing the same thing, the meetings, what you were doing, the facilitation sessions, before you start any facilitation sessions, you can have the ground rules, what I was explaining before starting the class, that you have to do this, you should not do this. This is our decision making skills. This is our meeting management skills. We will not let you do this, and so on. So everyone will be abide by the ground rules. So the conflicts remain in control. They should not go beyond the control. So to do these things, we have the ground rules. So far, look, we haven't started the project. So now once this meeting is over, and they said we have selected option number 4, which we have selected cost benefit analysis, that how much we will spend and how much we will get in return in how much time. So based upon that, who sponsor, or it could be the business analyst, they will prepare the business case. Now, business case is what it contains the information why you are going to do the project, because of market requirement, because of customer requirement, because of technical requirement, because of government requirement, because of product life cycle is going to be finished, because of maintenance, because of shutdown, because of any reason we are going to do the project. There will be another document which is what benefits management plan, where we will discuss the financial benefits, that what is the NPV, and we will select the project which has highest NPV, which has lowest payback period, which is highest internal rate of return, and which has our cost benefit ratio, the highest one. So we will select the project based upon those things. In benefits management plan, we will also write down who is the product owner. Maybe sometimes someone else is the sponsor. Product owner, the constraints, risk, high level risk, assumptions you have made to make the financial calculations. Sometimes people think assumptions. What are assumptions? Assumptions are these things that you are calculating. If I will invest this, what I will get. If I will do this, what I will get. So these things you are doing based on assumptions or forecast. So these things are mentioned in business case and benefits management plan. Now, these documents will be given to a person or a group of person called sponsor to arrange the financials. So we will give them the technical document, and they will provide the financial resources, or we can provide the financial resources. It could be internal or external. If you have multiple sponsors, so we can say, I don't care how many you have, give me one person who will talk to the seller, who will be the bridge between the organization and the seller organization. A sponsor will look at it, and then he will do the same thing which you guys had the procurement chapter, that they will look at it, they will do the make or buy analysis, whether to do it by ourselves or whether to do it by another, by outside. And we will establish the source selection criteria, which type of sellers we need. So once you have decided, you will do the request for proposal, request for information, or request for quotation, which means you will submit the procurement statement of work, which is very detailed. Whatever you want to get it should be there. Plus, it will also have what our criteria for the solar source selection, and it will also have the bidding documents. Now, based on the selection criteria, multiple companies will bid upon the thing. If they have any confusions, then project manager will invite them in a conference called bidders conference. Bidders conference, where people will come and project manager will answer their questions if there is any ambiguity. Once bidder conference finished, and all the questions are clarified, then the seller will submit their bids. Then what it will do, we will do the technical and commercial and quality evaluation for the project they have submitted proposals for the proposals. Once done, we will select which one we need to do, and then we will make the agreement. Now, agreement could be of our, if we are doing in predictive, we could have fixed price contracts, which means lump sum, no more, no less. We said fixed price contract can be used for longer durations of project. Buyer is safe, seller at risk, and can be used for longer durations of project. It has three types of contracts: from fixed price, lump sum, fixed price plus incentive fees to promote or to provoke the supplier to finish earlier, and FPEPA, which means anything uh, changes or any changes because of the government regulations, it will be reimbursed. Or it could be cost reimbursable, which means you don't know the scope of work. So we could have a contractor hired and he will do the work. Whatever he will buy for the project, we will pay him. Here, buyer is at risk and seller is safe, and also can be used for longer durations of project. It also contains cost plus fixed fee, whatever it is. It's kind of a lump sum that you will get, whatever you will pay, we will give you plus your execution fees. Or cost plus incentive fees, like if we have done the high level estimates and if we can achieve it better than this, so we can share the benefits. Or cost plus award fees, which means that you will get all your legitimate cost, but if your performance is not up to the mark, then your fees will be predicted. Or we can do the time and material contract, mostly for the consultations or the staff augmentation training purposes. In Agile, we have different type of contract where we can make the master service agreement for the whole project, and then for each iterations or each levels, we could have the different addendums, like variable rate projects. Like if you finish early, you will get 20 real per hour. If you finish on time, you will get so if it is 50, then it will be like you will get less. If you will go further, like you will finish the late, so you will get, let's say, 10 riyal per hour. Or we said change for free, which means you can make as many changes until the total number of user stories remains same. Or money for nothing, that if you selected 100 stories but you have only achieved 80 and you think you are good, so you will only pay for 80, so you will not pay for 100. So these are what agile type of situations where you can make the contracts. So now what will happen is sponsor have hired a seller by making the agreement. Seller, the executing organization, and seller and sponsor will work together to create a first document called project chart. And in Agile, we call it vision statement also. It's same thing anyway. What is their vision? So we are going to do it. Now we have selected a project, we have selected the sponsor, we have selected the seller, and now the sponsor, seller and sponsor will work together. And to do this thing, they need what? Business case, benefits management plan, and agreements between them. So project charter and vision statement in Agile as we have. What project charter contains? We said high-level objectives, high-level assumptions, constraints, high-level risk, major milestones, exit criteria from the project, investment requirements, approval requirements, sponsor name and authorities, project manager name and accountabilities and responsibilities and authorities by name, and initial list of stakeholders. So once project charter is defined, in whether you are in a predictive or agile, your first task after becoming the project manager is to identify the stakeholders. Although he has all the business analysts already have identified the stakeholders which are already here, but as a project manager, you will do it again and you will create the stakeholder register, which means you will have their names, their classifications. Classification means they are unaware, they are resistant, they are supportive, they are neutral, or they are neutral. So you will look at their current engagements and you will plan stakeholder engagement, that how to keep them engaged by using the stakeholder cube, which is like this: keep informed, keep engaged, keep closely informed, and keep closely engaged, like this, the stakeholder cubes. Based on that, You will use multiple techniques, whether it's predictive or agile, which means brainstorming, focus with facilitations, questionnaire surveys, interviews. And if they have conflict or if they have the biases problem between the experts, so you can use Delphi techniques, which is used to resolve the biases issues into the meeting. White pen Delphi, planning poker. You can use any of the collaboration tools to engage the stakeholders. So you will understand their requirements. Which type of requirements? We said functional requirements, non-functional requirements, business requirements, stakeholder requirements, quality requirements. All these requirements will be collected. If you're working in predictive, so you will have a document called requirement traceability metrics. And I think I don't need to show you, already have it in the slides. So requirement traceability matrix contains item, why it is important, what will be the test case. So from origin to destination, that was a keyword. That it's a document which contains all the details of the requirement from origin to destination. To satisfy that, why we choose this item for the project. So on the left hand side, it contains the strategic objectives. On the right hand side, it contains the product and its test cases. If you're working in Agile, we have a lighter version of requirement traceability matrix. We call it interaction matrix. It's not your problem. You don't need to remember it. I'm just telling you in terms of Agile. So in both cases, if it is the predictive one, so requirement traceability matrix will be collected according to the matrix. So when he is collecting the requirements, so if it is in predictive, he will collect the requirements. Otherwise, it will be the product owner who will be having the product backlog, where all the requirements, and in Agile, requirements are called as user stories, are dumped into a container like this, unarranged. Great. Now, project manager will sit with his team because he has become the project manager. He will go to PMO to release the resources. So now we will have the functional managers initially and some experts who are required. And then you will have a meeting with the help of a project charter. Guys, this is the project, and that's what we have collected the requirement. What do you think? How should we do the projects? This meeting can be on several times. I'm not saying this meeting is only now. It can be on repetitive or iterative time, before requirement, after requirement, all that. They will have a look, and all of them will submit their management plans. So we have 10 knowledge areas: S, T, C, Q, R, T, I, C, S. So they all will submit these 10 management plans: scope management plan, requirements management plan, schedule management plan, cost management plan, quality management plan, resource management plan, risk management plan, procurement management plan, stakeholder engagement plan, communication management plan. Based upon that, we will define our strategies, how to move. But before we move, we have to do certain things. So I think as of now, the topic is clear. Nabil, you are asking when the SOW was created, when I was showing you the procurement statement of work we have issued before making the agreement. So now charter is issued, management plans are done. So now the detailed planning will start. So now we are shifting from initiating to planning. The first thing you will always plan is what? Scope. And based on scope management plan and requirements management plan, how the requirements will be collected, scope management plan, how the scope will be prepared. Which type of scope? Project scope and product scope. What is project scope? The amount of work which fulfills the project requirement is called as project scope. Product scope, the features and functions that characterize the scope. So once scope is being determined, all the functional managers are there, and you will prepare a detailed document called project scope of work. The first scope of work or statement of work was brief, not that much detail, but this one is project scope of work. SOW is very detailed. It could be multi-pages document if you are working in Predict. Once there are all the details here, what will be the quality requirements, what type of resources you need, everything is there. And on those basis, you will create a WBS, where the first level of the WBS will be the project. The second level of the project will be the control account, which is used for the costing purpose. And control accounts, if you guys remember, control accounts includes work package plus contingency reserves. And inside control account, we will have work packages. The lowest level of WBS, they always ask this question. The lowest level of work WBS is always work package. It can never have the activity inside the WBS. There could be some work packages where we don't have details. So we will work with rolling wave planning, which means we will name it now and we will leave the high level time and high level cost and high level scope. And once the time will come, then we'll plan in detail. These type of packages are called as, work packages are called as planning packages. So once WBS created, at the same time, you will create the WBS dictionary, which means which type of resources, which resources you need, how much you need to complete a particular work package. So this is our scope baseline. Document 1, scope statement. Document 2, WBS. And document 3, WBS dictionary. These three documents combined together and are called as scope baseline. How it becomes baseline? We make many baselines, but once it's approved, the final one, it is called as scope baseline. Once if scope baseline is committed now, once scope baseline is committed now based on this scope baseline, all will start. Who will start? Schedule guy will start. Schedule baseline will start working. Cost baseline will start working. And to prepare schedule and cost, you need input from the resource guy because we will provide resource, and also from the risk because risk will provide the cost of contingency reserve and management. And for schedule, you need to know that number of resources you need and when you need. So resources cost, quality cost, all the costs will be included in the cost baseline and schedule baselines. Three baselines together, scope baseline, schedule baseline, cost baseline together will become the performance measurement baselines. And these will be given to the execution. So these execution guidelines will be given to the executing guys and they will start working and they will produce work performance data on daily basis. If there are issues, they will issue the issues. And if nothing is done, then for sure they will have the deliverables as an output. Once these deliverables are produced, so this data is going to the monitoring and controlling of the integration, which means that it will become work performance information into work performance report, which will be sent to the stakeholders to communicate the status. If they find something that they don't feel good, and if you think that there are variances, so you will produce a change request. What is the process of change request? Whenever the change request will be filed by project manager or stakeholder, so we said there are two types of change requests: those who requires baseline change and those who does not require baseline change, which project manager has the authority given or delegated to him. He can approve it. PM can approve it. If it requires rebaselining, then it should be submitted to the change control board. Change control board contains the sponsor, the customer, and other experts, and also project manager sits in the meeting. A project manager cannot take decisions, so he submit the change request with his comment whether to accept it, whether to reject the change. Change control board will look at it and then they will evaluate the change against the project constraints, and project constraints are scope, schedule, cost, quality, resource, SSQR. So if required, they will approve it. Once approved, this approved change request will be given to the executing guard so they can start working. And then as a project manager, you will again update the stakeholders that change request was filed and it is approved. And then you will update the baselines that now it should reflect the newer information, what it is. And that's how the whole project will continue. Once all the work is finished, what will happen now? So you have your deliverables. So maybe it could be a phase. What is phase? Collection of activities which will give you a deliverable. Collection of all the phases which completes the project is called a project lifecycle. Product lifecycle from concept to operation to phase out. Once the deliverable is produced, then control quality guy will appear and then he will do the inspection of the deliverable, where he will check the conformance of the deliverable, that does it confirm as mentioned in the scope base, where we have the multiple tools like control chart, which provides how much plus and how much minus is allowed. If it fits in the conformance, they will approve it. Once quality control will pass it, then you will go to validate scope with the customer or sponsor. Validate means acceptance. If the acceptance is done, you will go to close the procurement or phase or project. And while doing so, you have to perform the administrative closure, which means you have to collect all the documents, which includes project documents, schedules, baselines, invoices, change requests, acceptance, and supplier evaluations according. So this is what administrative closure where you will close. If there are any claims, they should be resolved. Otherwise, you cannot close the project. If there are claims you think that they do not exist, so you will close the project, and for claims, you will send them to the claims department, so handled by yourself. So you will close the project as a project manager, and you can go and start the next project, or even if you want to leave the organization. So that's how the project will be closed in HR. Now let's wait a minute. While doing so, control quality means when you are producing the deliverable, quality assurance guy was there, which is managed quality. They were checking the process, that the process which is required to produce a deliverable is okay or not. For that, they will perform what? Audit. Audit of the deliverables, audit of the documentations, audit of the whole process. First, they will do on assumptions, but once they get the real data from control quality, then they have the real data. So if there are deviations, they can perform root cause analysis. And if they find so many things, so you can have the histogram, and based on histogram, you can make the bar chart, and on bar chart you can perform the Pareto analysis to find out which is 80-20 analysis, that you think that solve the first one first. Majority of the problems are because of some critical problems. Or based on root cause analysis, by doing the fishbone diagram, you can find out that out of all those which can produce the which is causing the problem. If you think that all these problems are coming because of this cause, so you will fix this cause. Who? Quality assurance guy. They will submit the change request to the management that we need to fix it, so we can proceed further. Also, we will have the tally sheets on daily basis. We call it check sheets. That if there are deviations between the control charts, that why we could not reach to the same 98.5 or whatever it is. So these tally sheets will help us that, okay, we have wrong parts applied, we have rusted parts applied, because of that we have deviations from it. So that was the quality part. While working for the project, you have to make the schedule also. What was the schedule? You have to define activities in the paper somewhere, and then you have to sequence the activities. Audit with quality control tools, no audit with quality tools. I didn't say quality control. Quality control tool is only one, which is inspection. So that define activities, and then you will sequence activities based on finish to start relationship, start to start relationship, and we have finish to finish relationship, and then we have start to finish relationship. Finish to start is most commonly used. Start to start, finish to finish. You can use it that both activities can start together. Both activities can finish together, and start to finish. When activity 2 will start, then activity 1 will finish. And this is the rarely used. So you can define activities, you can sequence them based on relationships, which is finish to start, start to start, finish to finish, or start to finish. Or it could be mandatory dependencies, we call them hard logic, which cannot be changed. You have to do in the same sequence. Or discretionary dependency, we call it soft logic, which can be changed. Internal dependencies based on our resources, and external dependencies not in our control. So once you will sequence activities, you will get the project network diagram. To produce the project network diagram, we have two methods: critical path method, which is the longest method to find out the longest path without any constraints. The second one is critical chain method, that if you think that activities are difficult, you don't have the required resources. So CCM allows you to place buffer, which means if project schedule is 100 days here with critical path method, no risk problem. You think if it is ideal, but everything is not ideal. So maybe this could be 120. This because you can place buffers between the activities. So we can have by critical path method or critical chain method. If we are looking for the risk analysis, we should go with the critical chain method, which is very popular. Critical path method, very simple. There is no redundancies, or there is nothing adjusted. Everything is. When you are doing the sequence diagram, you have to know about the dependencies, and you know also about the float. What is float? The amount of time an activity can be delayed without ending the project ended. And we have two types: total float and free float. Total offload, any activity can be delayed without delaying the project end date. We call it shareable float also. Free float, the activity can be delayed without delaying the start of successor activity, next activity. Start of successor activity for the next activity is free float. The formula for total float is ls minus es, late start minus early start, or late finish minus early finish. So you can calculate the float. The longest part will be the critical path. Activities on the critical path will be called as critical path activities, and they will always have float value. Critical chain method, you can have buffers. If you think that you have the problem on the schedules, when you are making the schedules, planning the schedules, and you think you are doing the over allocation of resources, you can do the resource level, which means one day Imran is working 8 hours, another day Imran is working 16 hours. So it's like you are exploiting the resources and you are draining the resources. So what you will do? No. Every day 8 hours, which means 8 hours will be added, or maybe another resource will be added. So once we do resource leveling, the baseline date is quite possible to be changed. There will be a question of could be a question in exam also. When baseline change, when we do the resource leveling, when we level the resources on resource utilization based on resource history. Or if you want to finish it early, what you can do, you can perform the crashing. We call it schedule compression. Once it comes to schedule compressions, so schedule compressions are of two types. Number one, crashing. Sorry for the space, crashing or fast track. In crashing, we can add more resources on the activities, critical path activities to finish the project early or to reduce the time. Or if we don't have money, so we will start doing the activities in parallel. We call it fast tracking. So activities are defined, sequenced, and then we have the critical path or critical chain method done, and we have done the crashing and fast tracking. Once crashing and fast trackings are done, and you will submit the schedule to the organization, so it will be approved. So it will become what? Schedule baseline, which will be added to the performance measurement baselines. So that's how we prepare the baseline in the predictive one. When I was doing the sequencing in predictive, we can do the sequencing in predictive as well as in agile. We call it prioritization. What is prioritization? That those user stories which needs to be done. So we update the product backlog based on highest value and highest risk based on the prioritization schemes. The first one which we have discussed is Moscow. Must have, should have, could have, and won't have. You can use Kano analysis. We can use dot voting. These things can be used to prioritize the user stories which should be done first, or also for the sequences and predictive that which things should be done first based on the requirements. For estimations in both predictive and agile, the most common one we have got analogous from past. We have the parametric, which means we need a statistical or mathematical formula to calculate. Or we have bottom up where we need WBS. Call it bottom up where we need WBS, which is very detailed. If we have uncertainties, we go with 3-point estimation. In 3-point estimation, we have O plus M plus P divided by 3, we call it average. Or we have O plus 4M plus P divided by 6, we call it beta or herd duration. We can use these things for estimations. If you are working in agile, it's very easy. They say do not complicate it. You can use Fibonacci series, which is 1, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 3, and then 5, and so on. Add on the previous one. We can use the Fibonacci series. 1, 2, 2 plus 1, 3, 3 plus 2, 5, 5 plus 3, 8, and so on. We can use the dot voting. We can use there is something called in agile, we have fist of 5, it's not a part of PMP. We can use the collaboration games or planning poker, where we can have our t-shirt sizing. T-shirt sizing like small, medium, large, and XL, and so on. So we can estimate the user stories. And once we will choose a small, so we have to define small is equals to 1 hour, and medium is equals to 5 hours, and large is equals to 2 days, and so on. So this is what prioritizations and estimations. The most important part which we have discussed, that when you will add activity cost, so activity cost will give you the work packages cost. So activity cost will give you the work packages. When you will add all work packages, so above all work packages in one control account, you will add contingency reserve of this one control account. So once you will add all work packages with the contingency reserve, you will get the cost of control accounts. When you will add all control accounts, then it will become what? Cost baseline. And in cost baseline, when you will add a management reserve, then it will become the project budget. Contingency reserves are used for known risk and known impact, or known risk, unknown impact. So if it is known risk, you will add it into the estimations, because I know how much it will cost, so I will add it in the estimations. But if I don't know, so I will keep it for the contingency reserves. Management reserve, unknown, when you don't know the risk, for sure you don't know the impact. Project manager gets the money at site, which is equivalent to the cost baseline. Management reserve stays in the PMO or organizations and will only be released if there is unknown situation with the help of change request. So that's how we make the cost baseline. Scope finish, schedule finish, cost finish, quality finish. Now comes to the resource. When it comes to the resource management, so whenever we are planning for the project, we have to find the, according to the resource management plan, which type of resources we need. And if you guys might remember, in resource management plan, we said what type of resources we need, what will be their training requirements. Training, this is my actual topic. What will be their training requirements? What will be the resource control? You will define the type of RACI, how they will be reporting to, what will be their other things. But most important task is training. So if before working on the project, some resources need training, so you have to make sure that these resources finish the training before we need it. Like I need you on day 15 and the training is 30 days. So finish your 30 days before you start on day 15. You should be available. Who will handle this? PMO will handle all these things. So training requirement, the PMO and the functional manager, they will do this. So training requirements will be set, whether you're working in agile or predictive. So once you have the resources, you will allocate them into the resource breakdown structure, which contains man, material, machinery, or equipment. So you will define the whole thing. You will also estimate how many resources you need. You will also perform multi-criteria decision analysis, which means you hire a junior resource or bad resource or something. So based on knowledge, based on skills, based on experience, when you're acquiring the resources, you will do the multi-criteria decision analysis. So based upon this information, now you know which type of resources you need and when you need. If you're working in agile, so in agile, we have the stakeholders, the product owner, and we have the agile coach or scrum master, and we have the team. Product owner is responsible for the product backlog, for updating the product backlog. We call it, or also the groomed. So not update, we call it prioritized product backlog or groomed prioritized product backlog. Coach is responsible for facilitation, is a facilitator. And team is what? In agile, we have the cross-cultural team and cross-experts team, cross-functional team. We call them T-shaped team, which means they are expert of one thing, but they can do other tasks. And team size could be from at least 2 to 12 member maximum. In some books you will find 9, in some books you will find 10, so on. So you can have 2 to 12 members of that team. Normally 6 to 9, something like this. So these are what T-shaped team, which means they are expert of one and they can perform other tasks also. Why have to go with the cross-functional team? Imagine if you guys have 6 team members and one of them is not performing or sick or because of anything he's absent. So these people will do the work. So in agile, we call it the same as for T-shape and self-organize. In predictive, project manager was resolving the conflict. In agile, team will resolve the conflict. Yeah, they are called as generalizing specialists. T-shapes are called as generalizing specialists. I-shape, SMEs. They are good only for one thing, I-shape. But T-shape, generalizing specialists, they can do one thing perfectly and other things also. They are self-organizing. They will organize their work by themselves. They will choose the frequencies, the relationships, the sequence, everything. And then Any conflicts, they will resolve it by themselves, and they will monitor their performance also by themselves. A coach is only the facilitator, and also he provides the governance, and he makes sure that you remain in the same governance. So in Agile, this coach have a daily stand-up meeting with all the team members for their team, because there could be multiple teams working. That what you did today, what you did yesterday, what you will do today, and what are your imperatives. So he has to do this task, and this is what 15 minutes ceremony in that task. So once the product owner will prepare the product backlog, now product team or the team and the coach will sit together, and there could be other stakeholders also, but we are just focusing on these things. So now they will convert this product backlog into prioritized product backlog, where they will synchronize it or arrange it based on highest value and highest risk. Then team will take the work from the prioritized product backlog and then break the user stories into tasks. In work breakdown, we have the work packages. Here we have the stories into tasks. We can have multiple stories. The speed with which they will complete the user stories is called as velocity, that how many points they can finish. Point means, like in predictive, we have durations. In Agile, we have points. In predictive, we have durations. In Agile, we have points. So in predictive, I can work 8 hours a day. In Agile, we can say we can finish 100 points per day, something like this. So based on the velocity, they will take the user stories and break it down into tasks. So now once they are breaking down into tasks, it will become now iteration backlog, where they have the task. Now they will start working on the iteration, which is between 2 to 6 weeks maximum, where every day they have to do the daily stand-up meeting, Agile ceremony, we call it. Daily stand-up meeting, what you did yesterday, what you will do today, and what are your impacts. Once the iteration is finished, there will be an iteration review meeting, where we have a product owner, could be a sponsor, it could be other stakeholders, our Scrum Master with the team. They will demonstrate the delivery. If they think, if the product owner and these people think, agree, then this will be shipped according to the initial release schedule, which was defined at the time of project chart. If not, we will take the new requirements, then we will update, and now what we will do, we will do the grooming of the prioritized product backlog, and then the same circle will continue, then the sprint will start, and then we will have review, and so on. Once we will finish the review, whatever the situation is, we will do the sprint retrospect meeting. In predictive, we have lesson learned meeting. In Agile, we have retrospect meetings, which means we will check ourselves that what was good, we should continue doing it, what we should not do it, these are the bad practices, we should not do it, and these are innovations. So you are doing that continuous improvement according to Deming, PDCA, plan, do, check it. So you are doing the retrospect, and you are minimizing the weight. To control your activities, you can use information radiators. And what are the information radiators? We have iteration burn down chart, how much work is finished, sorry, how much work is remaining, and burn up chart, how much work is accomplished. Or you can also use the Kanban board to show in process completed. The main purpose of Kanban board is limit the work in progress. Limit the work in progress is the main purpose of Kanban board. It could be a Kanban board for the whole project. Plus, we can have multiple Kanban boards for the iterations also, and other levels of the project. So they can be more than one chart and one board. We call it iteration board, Scrum board, task board, Scrum. So these are the things you can have it. For the user stories also, we can have the Kanban board. So this is what Agile part of doing the project. I will finish Agile. Limit the work in progress, limit WIP. So for Agile, I will explain it again, but that was the initial review of it. So scope finished, schedule finished, cost finished, quality finished, resource finished. In resource, there are some motivation phases. What are the motivation phases? We have Maslow, which has 5 levels, which means you should deal with the person what they need. The first level is physical needs. The second one is security. The third one is social. Fourth one is self-esteem, and fifth one is self-actualization, which is living. We have Herzberg satisfiers and dissatisfiers. The people will only work if they will feel or if they will get something against their performances. We have McGregor theory of X and Y. There are X type of people with lower needs. You have to shout at them, yell at them. So there are Y type of people, which means that they can handle themselves easily. That type of theories that people are expecting, we call it that they will only perform if they know that what they will get. There are expectancy theory and achievement theory. People will only perform what they will get if they know what they will get. This is what achievement theory. Expectancy theory, they are thinking that I will get something. In achievement, they know what they get something. This is the basic difference in achievement and expectancy theory. In achievement, they know what they will get. In expectancy, they are expecting that if I do some good work, I will get something. So this is what expectancy theory and achievement theory. There is another thing which is what Tuckman ladder framework for the teams, which contains forming, storming, norming, performing, adjourn. That once you will collect the team, it will be forming. Then they will fight with each other, so storming, where you will use the conflict management also. If they become normal, so norming. Once they are normal, they are ready to performing. Once they finish performing, adjourn. Adjourn means going back to the places. If from a storming they cannot adjust themselves, we will say, please leave us. Thank you. So this is what Tuckman ladder framework for the team development. Forming, storming, norming, performing, adjourn. We also have a Japanese framework which is recently added, Shu Ha Ri. Shu means follow whatever it's being happening in the company. Ha means try to innovate the thing, find a better way of doing the things, and Re means Shu Ha Ri means the third one means leave the team and you can also become the innovator or influencer because you have learned and you have innovated. Now you can lead the people based on those innovations. So this is what Shu Ha Ri theory of the resource management. We also discussed in resource, there are types of power, 5 types of power. Formal power, if you don't know anything, so you can control your team or you can manage your team with the help of formal power, which is also called as sheer power, or it could be the expert power. People will respect you because you are expert. It could be the penalty power because you will start deducting their salaries and you will start punishing them. Or it could be a reward power that you will reward the people. Or the last one was very amazing, reference power. People will respect you because you have the references or you are in the relationship for your organization management or CEO or something. So that was our resource management. A part of that, we have done the stakeholders. When we were doing the stakeholders, we have to do that power, interest, influence, or power legitimacy cubes. We can use it to arrange our stakeholders accordingly. For the external, we have the ground rules, and for internals, we have the team charter in resources. That what type of behavior is expected from team, what type of behavior we have from the external stakeholders. Based on that, we can establish our communication requirements also. In communications, we said there are 2 types of things, formal and informal, and both of them written and spoken. Formal written or formal will only be used when you are communicating with external stakeholders or there is a complex problem. Internal between your team members and between your organizations. There is a communication model which has the simple method: sender will encode, receiver will decode, and then if there are barriers in the communication, then we have to collect the feedback. Whose responsibility is to collect the feedback? It's sender responsibility of the feedback. What are the barriers? Normally the noise, language, culture. Used to be distance, but it doesn't exist anymore. So noise, language, culture, distance. Yeah, to remove the barriers, you have to collect the feedback. And the formula is for n multiplied by n minus 1 divided by 2, how many channels you need. So based on the stakeholder management or engagement plan, you will find out that how to engage which type of resources, like what is the escalation one. So based on that, communication management plan will be produced, which says who needs what information, when, and how, which technology, and with which frequency. So the communication management plan will define that, okay, you have to send a sponsor this information, executing this information, team this information, management this information, and so on. So you will send this information based on the status report, which is contains a snapshot of the scope, schedule, cost, and quality. It could be the progress report, which is like total percentage. It could be the forecasting reports, ETC, EAC, and TCPI, or it could be the variance reports. So this was our communication and stakeholder engagement, how to do it. In procurements, we have already explained it. So this is a small revision of it. So if I just recall it in the big picture, in predictive, we have what? 5 process groups: initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling, closing. And initiating means high level things will be decided, planning is detailed, executing the work performance data and deliverable, monitoring and controlling work performance information and change requests and acceptance, and closing means transition of deliverables from project to operations. When it comes to agile, initiating and both done will be like the same project charter or vision statement. Based upon that, product backlog will be ready. Product owner will fill this product backlog, and with the help of product owner, team, and Scrum Master, they will prioritize the backlog based on value and based on risk. Then team will do the iteration backlog, which means user story will be converted into task. Once committed, sprint will start, daily stand-up meeting, review meeting, and after review, we will have the retrospect meeting. If it is accepted, we will give it to the shipment guys. Shipment means deployment, and they will deploy the thing. If not, we will take the new requirements and we'll put them here. Then they will come here, and then they will come here, and that's how a single team or multiple team will be doing the task. For every team, there will be the Scrum Master, and if you have multiple Scrum Masters, there could be a Scrums, and you can scale it to as many levels, or we can call it Chief Scrum Master, Chief Product Owner, to avoid that confusion. Mr. Sham says, please explain the Kanban board. So Kanban board is like this, where we divide the wall or the things into columns. Normally these are used in the computer form, which says to do, in progress, completed, and requires attention or approval or something. So it says that if you have user stories, do not rely only on the product backlog. And if you have a lot of work in progress, so it says instead of taking more work completed, and completed is small. So the Kanban board is used to limit the work in progress. And also we apply the Six Sigma thing to reduce, we call it lean Six Sigma, to reduce the work or to reduce the wastage. That you should not waste the time and resources. So if completed is less and progress is high, so this says please stop it, make a barrier here, finish this task before taking the new. So that is what our Kanban board. Limit the work in progress. The less work in progress, the better the situation is. Reduce multitasking, limit the work in progress. So if you think that the time of the user story is going to start, forget, continue the sprint, finish this thing first, because it will become the hectic for you. So first, whatever you have it, finish it. So work in progress can be as less as possible. So you can increase the work, completed work, and then if there are here also, so this is again what it is, creating bottleneck. So to avoid bottleneck, we use limit work in progress in the form of Kanban board. So that's how we do the project in Agile. That's how we do the project in predictive. The majority of you guys were thinking, I think, that procurement was actually the last part. No, procurement is actually the beginning of everything. What should we do for now? This is a secondary question, but before we start further, the things are clear how the project management happens. That's just my first question. The concept is clear, the flow, the information, because it's not process based, it's all like the situation based, like what you have to do in these situations. And exam is 100% logical. So you should know that when you are doing what type of things. If you remember these things, what I've said, for sure, I didn't discuss the OPA. I didn't discuss the PMO. PMO is what? Project Management Office, which provides the governance in terms of OPA and EF. What is OPA? Organizational process as such, which contains policies, procedures, guidelines. EF, the constraints, external or internal. External means government or industry based. Internal means your organization, culture, your facilities, your softwares. It also contains a stakeholder appetite. We have aversives, neutral, seekers, tolerance. Aversives, less, almost none. We have neutral, which means we have only those who will take the positive risk. The seekers, they will take positive or negative. Tolerant, they will go until it becomes an issue. Because what is risk? Risk is an uh, uncertain event which may occur. If it occurs, it may have a positive or negative outcome towards a project. For the risk management, we have to do the risk strategies. We can accept it or we can escalate it, which means we could have a share for the positive risk or exploit or enhance. Enhance should be done at earlier. Share means you don't know, so you will share the contract with someone. And exploit means you will use the experienced resources to finish the project less or in less cost or in less time. And negative ones we have avoid, which means you have to change the plan. You cannot avoid it, mitigate it, take some action. If you cannot do it, then transfer it, which means buy the insurance and transfer the ownership of the risk to a third party. Accept, active acceptance and passive acceptance. Active acceptance, which means that it requires contingency reserve. Passive acceptance, leave it when the time will come. That is called as uh, passive acceptance. So these are what risk strategies. When we are defining the risk, we have to work with risk management plan where we define what will be considered as low, medium, and high. Then based on that, you will identify the risk and you will assign the risk owner who is responsible for providing you the knowledge about the risk and potential responses. Then you will perform the qualitative risk analysis where you will have the probability and impact matrix. So you will arrange the risk based on the probabilities and impact. It also contains urgency and manageability also. So once you have this thing, if required, in some projects we perform quantitative risk analysis, where we can use the tornado diagram for performing the sensitivity analysis. We can use Monte Carlo simulation. We can use decision tree to select the right options for us or the right response for us. So based on that, we can find out of all those risks which can cause the project objectives. Once all are done, then you will provide your responses, the strategies, and you will submit to stakeholders. If they approve it, then you will give it, assign the risk action owner. These are the approved responses with trigger conditions. What are the trigger conditions? The identification of the signs that, okay, this risk is going to happen. So before it happens, apply the response. If the response works, it's great. Risk owner also provides a fallback plan, which means if this plan does not work, so you have the fallback plan, the plan B. If it also does not work, then report to the project manager because it's going to be an issue. So you have to report him, so he will handle the situations. So that's for the risk management about. We have secondary risk, which occurs because of the implementation response of primary risk. That was the risk part also. We have the integrated risk management, which means this should be handled at its own appropriate level. So that was a part of simple information about the risk management also, which I think is scripted or I forgot to discuss. So from my side, I think that is it enough. You have OPAs, we have EEF, you have TMOs, types of organizations, functional projectized, metrics, function where functional manager is working as expediter. Metrics, he could be coordinator or he could be the project manager, and projectized, he is the boss, which means he is the project manager. Great. So I'm finished with it. Thank you very much. We will discuss more things further because we have at least 1 hour to start with. So who have any question, please raise your hands. Okay, configuration management system as change management. Okay, let me show you again what is the change management procedures. Whenever we are defining the project management plan, we said project management plan contains 10 management plans, 3 baselines, and then change management plan or change management or the how the changes will be controlled. Change control plans, change management plan, change logs, everything will be here. So once we have defined how the changes will happen, so to control the changes, we have configuration management system. Configuration management system is taking the feedback from change management plan. So this was the version 1 of the baseline. If you want to change from next version, so according to the change management plan, which type of changes will be accepted. So these changes will be deployed here, and now it will become the version 2 of baseline and so on. So you can track the changes, configuration management system, you can track the changes throughout the project, how it is happening. And to keep the changes log, we have the change log. That change log was filed. What is the status? We have the change log, change request status, whether accepted, whether rejected, or whether deferred. Deferred means it's being deferred, and then we will recall this change after 1 month. It's not the time to implement the change. We'll do it later. Who will decide? Change control code. So accept, reject, or deferred. So in change control log or in change log, we will write it accepted, rejected, or deferred. So if it is accepted, then it has the criteria of acceptance, how it is accepted, and then it will be updated into the configuration management system. Inside configuration management, it has many things actually. We have versioning systems. So versioning systems actually maintains the version of the baseline. That what it was like this, before it was like this, now it is like this, and this is the final version.